It happened so fast, I didn't even have time to blink. 9:03 a.m. My badge still worked when I tapped it at the elevator. I was balancing my coffee in one hand and the final test report in the other. I remember thinking the numbers looked promising. The system was stable finally. But when I walked into the fourth-floor conference room, I froze. Warren Delcroft, our new CEO, sat at the head of the table. On either side of him were HR and a man I didn't recognize, legal, I assumed. No one smiled. No one greeted me. Joie, Warren said, folding his hands. We'll keep this brief. Your role has been deemed redundant, effective immediately. You'll receive details of your exit package by email. Redundant, like a broken cable or an outdated manual. I didn't speak. I didn't ask why. I knew better. You don't ask why when the decisions were already printed, signed, and emailed to HR 20 minutes before you arrived. My name is Joie Reigns. For 7 years I was Veltrix Dynamics lead systems architect, the soul mind behind Echelon 47, an adaptive energy redistribution protocol built to stabilize high-load defense arrays mid-flight. Not flashy, not visible, but vital. I designed the core neural matrix algorithm, led every live simulation, stayed when others left. When Veltrix needed a miracle on a shoestring, they handed me a sketch and 6 months. I delivered in 5. Then came Warren. All charm and polished veneer, no tech pedigree. He shook hands like a campaigner and spoke in pitch deck parlance. He loved to call the prototype his brainchild, telling me once, engineers build the bones, but executives make the skeleton dance. I blinked at that. Bones are the skeleton. But that was Warren, style over substance, and now here he was, firing me without thanks or acknowledgement. I nodded once calmly, no scene. Then I slipped my hand into my coat pocket. My fingers closed around the small black USB I'd carried every day for 6 months, not for data, but activation. I walked out without raising my voice. They thought they'd erased me. They had no idea I'd just hit send. The lobby's steel columns blurred as I made for the exit. In the hallway, vendors' posters lined the walls. Next quarter's projections. New branding guidelines, leadership mottos I could recite in my sleep. But today, my vision was singular. At the cafe across the street, weak coffee, cracked tiles. I would finish what I started. 7 years ago, I was 27 and nameless. Project Blackroot, the codename scribbled on that confidential folder. High fail risk. I had a second-hand laptop, a blinking prototype that crashed every 6 minutes, and a converted supply closet for a lab. I slept on the couch, drank coffee like it was oxygen, taped schematics on the ceiling, and coded until my eyes bled. Echelon 47, the neural stabilizer. That would be valued at $500 million, was born in that closet, but the world never knew me. By year 3, the project had teams and budgets, but I remained Joie Reigns. Reports routed through a product manager named Levi Foster, a bright hire I mentored. He learned code and ethics, but also politics and spin. Soon my diagrams morphed into slides under his name. Every simulation success was under the direction of Levi Foster. I said nothing. After our final test hit 99.92% accuracy, the contract readiness benchmark, I quietly requested co-inventorship on the patent application. Backed by logs, commits, diagrams, I expected fairness, not a parade. Warren never replied. Levi responded, "Now's not the time. Let's keep the focus." A week later, I learned he'd advised against my name role, ambiguity, continuity concerns. I stopped pushing. I stopped speaking. But I never stopped working. Unknown to them, I'd been building my own record. Private logs, mirrored archives, time-stamped commits. They scrubbed my name from presentations, but I stashed every iteration in hidden drives. 6 months before termination, I engaged an IP lawyer, Amelia Ree. We mapped the entire history. Code commits, metadata, emails, diagrams. We created a legal declaration form embedded in the queue for neural benchmark summary. Buried on page 7 in industry jargon. Warren skimmed, signed without question. That signature was the final key. I uploaded the signed document to the failsafe protocol, dormant until one morning today when my access would be revoked. I entered the cafe and claimed a corner table. The USB lay beneath my palm. I watched the badge scanner feed timestamped logs 9:03 a.m. and felt nothing but slow certainty. My phone buzzed, a message from Amelia, confirmation received. Filing queued, I exhaled. Not adrenaline, not triumph, just clarity. Within seconds, the system auto-assembled the full patent application, encrypted supporting materials, and filed with the USPTO under my name. By 9:17 a.m., it was done. I sipped my coffee. The steam curled like a question mark. My phone pinged. Again, patent status. Filed, inventor, Joie Reigns, ref, Echelon 47. Across the cafe wall, a TV ticker ran. Veltrix faces IP ownership conflict over prototype. I allowed a small smile. No press release. No drama, just the quiet satisfaction of truth enforced by code and law. I closed my laptop and stood. Outside, the morning sun was crisp. They had tried to erase me. I made them remember. 3 months earlier, Warren strode into the lab after a New York VC lunch. I was explaining real-time voltage anomaly adaptation. He leaned back, arms crossed, and said, "What matters isn't who builds it, Joy, it's who sells it." Those words settled like ash. I said nothing. From then on, engineers vanished, restructured, reassigned. In their place came consultants, with buzzword bingo. Levi transformed too, swapping code for optics and synergy. He stopped looping me in. He edited my docs for clarity. I let it pass. When I first saw the co-inventor packet rejected, my chest tightened, but I buried it. I told myself the work was enough. Until it wasn't. At 9:03 a.m., they disconnected me. At 9:17 a.m., the failsafe triggered. By 9:30 a.m., the CTO would be pulling up backups only deletion logs, timestamped to my termination. Levi would run to the server room, find nothing, and realize his betrayal. I imagined Warren in his glass-walled office, mid-pitch, phone in hand, reading the confirmation twice. Denial, rage, then acceptance, as legal laid out the unbreakable evidence. He signed my inventorship himself. Back at the cafe, I watched a barista refill napkin holders. She paused, looked at me. "You okay? You've been here a while." I nodded. "I'm fine, thank you." I opened my notes. It is done. No sirens, no alarms, just the silent collapse of a house of spin. Soon, investor statements arrived, one pausing involvement, another demanding internal review. I didn't celebrate, I just let the ripples spread. By noon, social media exploded. Reddit threads dissected the timestamped juxtaposition. Fired at 9:03 a.m. Patented at 9:17 a.m. A grainy audio of my termination meeting went viral. Aron's cold line, "Your role is redundant." It cut through his morning show rehearsals like a scalpel. They thought silence was surrender. It's not. It's preparation. I left the cafe and drove an hour out of the city to a quiet beach where signal drops and wind whispers. I slipped off my shoes, felt the tide lap my ankles, and let the stillness settle. My phone buzzed, a message thread with Thomas, an engineer I'd mentored who'd left 6 months ago. He'd warned they'd tighten ranks. Now he watched chaos from afar. I almost replied advice, sympathy, but deleted it. Truth had its own force. Another ping, a private investor, from a boutique fund, asking to license the system. I didn't answer immediately. They needed a story, I needed control. Back in town, Veltrix's legal counsel emailed a buyback offer, $8 million for sole rights, 2-year exclusivity clause. I closed it. They offered the leash back. I refused. Then came a quilch, a clean CTO offer, no interference, my vision unbounded. I paused over the reply button, heart steady. Outside, lights slanted through my window. They wanted to own me again. Aquilch wanted to empower me. I hit send. "Let's schedule a call. I'm interested." And just like that, the tide turned. The morning I walked into that conference room, I carried only a coffee and a report. They stripped me of title and badge. But I kept the truth in code. 7 years of silence built a failsafe that spoke louder than any resignation letter. Today, I choose where to take it next. It happened just as I predicted. By mid-morning, the tremors had rippled through every corner of Veltrix. I watched from my apartment balcony as news alerts pinged across my phone in rapid succession. Internal memos leaked. Board members calling. Emergency sessions. Investor calls dragging into overtime. At 10:02 a.m. I opened a secure chat with Levi Foster. I stared at the empty text field, fingers hovering. I never intended to gloat. Yet I typed one line. "You ignored me." Then I deleted it. He'd already seen enough. Instead, I called Thomas. His voice crackled with adrenaline. "Joy, I don't know what to say." He was no longer the scrappy junior analyst I'd once guided. His tone was hushed, as if he expected walls to eavesdrop. I reassured him, no blame, no recriminations, only the relief of truth finally laid bare. I reminded him of our late-night debates, our shared conviction that code should never be silenced. He promised to help wherever he could. I thanked him and ended the call. Around 11 a.m., I received a private message from Amelia Uspdo. Just updated public record status shows. Filed and indexed. Expect challenge letters by COB. I exhaled. Let them come by noon. Veltrix's general counsel sent a terse request for a call. I glanced at the email. He used Ms. Reigns' formal, cold. I drafted a brief reply. I'm unavailable today. Contact my office. No elaboration. No courtesy. Then I switched gears to Aquelch's meeting invitation. At 2 p.m., I joined a video conference with Aquelch's CEO, Helena Morsi, and their head of R&D, Dr. Malik Chen. The screen lit up with two familiar but now friendly faces. Helena spoke first, warm, direct. Joie, we saw what happened. You turned walls into steps. We want you to lead. Malik nodded behind her, excitement bright in his eyes. They didn't offer a title or a golden cage. They offered agency. We want to build this together, Helena said. Global scale ethical applications defense, yes, but also disaster response, renewable grids, medical devices. We see Echelon 47 as a foundation for more. I listened, the weight in my chest shifting toward possibility. I outlined my vision, 3-pillar licensing across industries to avoid concentration. As I'd planned, Aquelch anchoring defense integration, Cornova adapting logistics, AI revolutionizing green energy automation. Helena and Malik exchanged a look. Then Helena said, we'll support all three. Introduce you to our partners. I asked about timelines and autonomy. They assured me a rolling start, no forced deadlines, no micromanagement. Just resources, teams, and trust. For the first time in years, I felt the framework I'd built was finally being honored. After the call, I sat quietly, the afternoon sun drifting west. I reflected on the day's ironies. The man who once told me it's who sells it now, scrambling to buy it back. The colleagues who sidelined me scrambling for answers. I'd watched them chase ghosts while I held the one thing they could never erase, rightful ownership. That evening, I walked the city's riverfront, cool breeze on my face. I passed a billboard, Veltrix's new campaign slogan, innovating, tomorrow, today. I paused, imagining their stunned faces when legal reviews concluded there was no recourse. I smiled without bitterness. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming what was mine. Late that night, Amelia sent me the official USPTO docket. No challenges lodged yet, statutory deadlines ticking. She recommended we prepare a public statement. I drafted a short press release in my notes. App. Today, the United States Patent and Trademark Office granted Joie Reigns sole inventorship of the Echelon 47 framework. This milestone validates 7 years of dedicated research, design, and ethical innovation. Ms. Reigns looks forward to partnering with Aquelch, Cornova, and Kellandine to deploy Echelon 47 across defense, logistics, and renewable sectors, ensuring the technology benefits communities worldwide. I reread it. Clear, concise, unflinching. I formatted it and scheduled it for release at 9 a.m. tomorrow, exactly 1 minute before Veltrix's planned market opening announcement. For their new global initiative, I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. Silence, yes, but no longer empty. It thrummed with potential. 7 years of code, coffee, sleepless nights, whispered hopes, and unseen labor had culminated in this moment. My name, once scrubbed away, now stood in bold relief. I closed my eyes and let myself rest. Tomorrow, the world would wake to a different story, and I would be at the center of it, writing every line. ChatGPT said, by sunrise the next morning, my press release had gone live. The world awoke to Joie Reigns' name emblazoned across tech news sites, financial tickers, and viral social feeds. I watched the notifications cascade in silence. No triumphant emojis, no gloating captions, just a steady stream of confirmation that the truth I'd engineered had taken root. I poured a fresh cup of cinnamon-spiced tea and settled at my desk. The first email was from Aquelch's HR director. Welcome aboard, CTO Reigns. Your office is ready. I didn't rush to respond. Instead, I opened a new document and began drafting the first memo of my tenure. Project charter. Team structure, ethical guardrails. Every word reaffirmed what ownership really meant. Responsibility. Mid-morning, Cornova's CEO, Alina Marquez, called. Her voice was bright but earnest. Ochoa, our logistics team needs your vision. We've been patching old frameworks for too long. I outlined a phased integration, pilot with automated warehouse grids, then scale to supply chain predictive routing. She pressed. Timeline. I said only, when it's right, and left it at that. Next was Kellandine's lead engineer, Dr. Priya Singh, who'd watched our work from the sidelines. Her email subject read, Green Energy Revolution. She'd already mapped potential use cases: microgrid stabilization, renewable source, harmonization, disaster relief power cells. We scheduled a workshop for next week. Between calls, I reviewed Veltrix's market response. Their stock dipped on news of ownership disputes, then wavered on speculation of legal battles. A small victory, but one I held lightly. I cared more about the communities Echelon 47 could serve than the chaos it left behind. That afternoon, I convened Aquilcha's core R&D team in a glass-walled lab overlooking the river. Engineers in crisp lab coats, data scientists with thoughtful smiles, defense strategists tapping tablets, my new circle. I stood before them, USB drive in hand, and shared the origin story, the supply closet nights, the hidden logs, the failsafe. Their eyes widened not at the drama, but at the elegance of a system that honored absence as command. I closed my talk with one mandate: innovation isn't sprinting to the next headline. It's crafting solutions that endure beyond boardrooms and buzzwords. We build with integrity, we test with transparency, and we measure success by impact, not applause. No applause followed, just solemn nods and a shared sense of purpose. Back at home, dusk settled golden across the skyline. My phone buzzed, a message from Thomas. Congratulations, inventor. A simple note, but it meant everything. I texted back, keep asking why. Before sleep, I checked my inbox one last time. Veltrix's general counsel had sent a final letter. We respect the USPTO's decision and retract further claims. A courteous formality. I filed it in a folder labeled History and closed the tab. I lay in bed and thought of the tide. Not the storm that I'd learned was too loud, but the tide. Gradual, unstoppable, reshaping the shore. In 7 years I'd poured code into a hidden protocol. In 7 hours I'd reclaimed my name. Now, in 7 days, I'd shape 3 industries. Tomorrow, I'd sign the charter for Aquilch, outline the pilot for Cornova, and draft research goals with Kellandine. I'd wake up not as redundant, but as architect, inventor, and leader. And I'd do what I'd always done, wield quiet focus as my sharpest tool. Let preparation speak louder than confrontation, and build something so essential that the world couldn't ignore it. As I drifted off, the city's hum softened into a lullaby. The era of silent erasure was over. The era of deliberate creation had just begun.